Other than the running, increasing your volume and your intensity week after week, the second most important aspect of any training plan, nutrition. What you eat before, during and after your runs plays a pivotal role in your recovery, fueling your runs and ensuring that you get the absolute best out of all of your miles and that you can perform your best on race day. Now in this week's episode of the Marathon Build series, I'm going to be going over the key principles or tenets that I use every single day to make sure that my body's well fueled for long distance running. Now a wee disclaimer while I take a walking break here, I'm not a nutritionist. What I'm going to be talking about today isn't advice, it's just the guidance and rules that I follow that you can, if you want, you can implement if you want. It's backed by popular science, all the latest research, and helps me fuel my long distance runs. So with all of that said, let's start with point number one, with James back in the flat.
Thanks, James. Now, before we talk about what we should be fueling our body with, we need to talk about how much we should be fueling our bodies. Common unit of energy you'll see on the labels of most foods is calories, or rather kilocalories, but in common vernacular we just drop the prefix and use calories. But no, throughout this video and on the labels of most foods, when we say calories, we actually mean kilocalories. Now, at its core, calories are just a unit of energy foods will provide to your body to fuel it throughout its day. That's one side of the equation. The other, probably more important side of the equation is knowing how many calories your body needs to fuel itself and all of your runs. The way I did this, I used an online calculator to determine what my basal metabolic rate was, or BMR. Your BMR is quite simply the number of calories, the amount of energy that your body needs to function, like just function. Breathe, blink, think, but that's it. Imagine lying in bed all day doing nothing, not even getting up to go to the toilet. That is the baseline amount of energy that your body needs to just do that. That's your BMR. You can calculate your BMR using various online calculators. You enter in your height, your weight, your age, your biological gender, and it will give you a range of calories that your BMR will lie in. From there, and using calorie estimates from smartwatches or fitness trackers, so your Apple Watch, Garmin, Coros, Fitbits, and taking that number with a kind of slight pinch of salt, you're able to calculate your daily energy expenditure throughout the day. If you don't have a fitness tracker, like one of the ones I just listed, you can calculate instead something called your total daily energy expenditure, or TDEE. This you use online calculators like you do with the BMR and will provide a range using your activity levels as well of how many calories that you burn throughout the day. Now, the final part to mention is that if you eat less calories than you burn, you're going to lose weight, and if you eat more calories than you burn, you're going to gain weight. Neither is inherently good or bad, it totally depends on what your specific goals are if you're wanting to change weight at all. But no matter what, it is super important that you eat enough calories, eat enough food throughout the day to fuel your runs. So with these tools and calculators and tricks on hand, experiment, find out what works best for you and the right amount of food that will get you through feeling good and fresh on all of your runs. Now for point number three, and if you follow the carnivore or Atkins diet, probably want to skip ahead through this point, but carbs are your friend. Carbohydrates are a macronutrient that are fast digesting and easily absorbed into your body and are probably an endurance athlete's best friend. They can be broken down into two categories. You have complex carbohydrates, things like fruits, vegetables, beans, legumes, stuff that's chock full of fiber and really good for your gut microbiome, getting in those buzzwords nice and early, and simple carbohydrates, most likely processed, and things like candies, chocolate, sugars, juices, stuff that will spike your blood sugar really quickly. Now, fueling your body with a good combination of those carbohydrates, probably with a bias towards complex carbohydrates, is a really good way of ensuring that you're getting the right nutrients and vitamins that allow you to achieve your long distance running goals. However, sometimes simple carbohydrate is really good to give yourself that quick boost of energy, but if you're looking for the long-term replenishment of your glycogen stores, which is the internal stores of carbohydrates in your body, no better way to do that than with the complex carbohydrates.
Another topic I wanted to touch on today is fueling during your runs. There are three common ways to fuel. One is gels, which is my preference. They're quick, they're easy, right amount of carbs, could be swallowed, very straightforward. Downsides, produce a lot of waste, they can be expensive. Alternatively, you can have sweets, things like Haribo, Percy Pigsy if you live in the UK. Downsides, you need to chew them, which I don't like doing. Thirdly, you can have drinks mix, which is like a high carb, sugary drinks mixture that you put in with your water and you sip on throughout your run. Downside of that though is you have to have a bladder of water or carry bottles with you when you're out for your run. So none of them are perfect, but find out what works best for you, both keeping your stomach comfortable, what you enjoy taking on during your run, and what your budget allows.
Now, the attitude that I have towards my diet isn't that it's carb heavy, but it's carb centered. It's a slight mental shift, but ensures that I maintain a good balance of other macronutrients, and with that, we do a run, so we get in our strength and conditioning, but how do we ensure that all of those efforts lead to long-term muscular gain? Protein. Not just for the gym bros, protein is the macronutrient that helps repair all the damage you do to your muscles during exercise. Now, in the sense for endurance athletes, protein maybe isn't as important as carbohydrates. It's definitely not utilised as a fuel source as efficiently, but it's still super important and actually really easy to get protein in every single meal. Protein powders, meat, dairy, legumes, things like tofu as well. Really good sources of protein that you can get in with each of your meals. Now, per gram, protein has the same number of calories as carbohydrates do, but due to its complex molecular structure, it's a lot harder for your body to digest than carbs. As a result, it's not used as efficiently as a fuel source, but it can leave you feeling more satiated or fuller for longer after each meal, so another good reason to get plenty of protein in. And with that, rounding out our list of 3 macronutrients, fat. Now, fat is the most calorically dense macronutrient of the 3, and in my mind, probably the tastiest as well. And for me in my diet, I don't prioritize fat intake. I still do enjoy it, but because it's caloric density and in similar means to protein, quite slow digestion by your body, it's not a priority for me. And I usually find that, especially before long runs, if I have a lot of fat, I feel slow, heavy, lethargic. So it really isn't just a priority for me in my diet. Now, when I was writing the script for this video, and whenever I think about the word fat, I can't help but think of grease, grizzle, the big ribbonous fat that you get on a steak. That's not necessarily what I mean. It does include those items when I talk about fat, but it also includes things like dairy, yogurt, milk, cheeses. So it's those kind of foods that I limit and keep in a low amount in my diet. Now, with all that said and done and the core principles covered, how do I prepare my meals? Well, I won't be going over specific recipes today. I understand that we all have different caloric needs as well as different personal tastes. Although if you are interested in some of my recipes, drop a comment in the comments box down below, and on your way there, make sure to hit the like and subscribe button. Now, there's a simple formula that I use. It's as follows. For my pre-run meal, which is no less than 90 minutes before my run, I have a carbohydrate-rich meal with a little bit of protein and as little fat as possible. And then for every other meal throughout the day and on rest days, I have a carbohydrate meal, so things like pastas, rice, vegetables, fruits, with plenty of protein and small amount of fat for flavoring, things like cheeses or oils. And that's it. Simple. In terms of calories, I eat the same number of calories every single day, regardless if I'm running or if I'm resting, because it's really important to refuel your body after those hard efforts and on those days that you rest. The only exception to this, and it's not something that I'm very strict about, but if I'm having a long run or I'm doing a double run day and my total volume for that day is more than 20 kilometers, for example, I'll make sure that I'm having a little bit extra carbohydrates to ensure that my glycogen stores are kind of getting topped back up throughout the day. And with this formula, I find it really easy to experiment, try new foods, still keeping my body fueled, but striking a good balance between foods that I should eat and foods that I want to eat, because I'm a sucker for some chocolate. So don't be afraid to go out there and experiment with your food and find out what works best for you. So that's that for my marathon build nutrition in broad strokes. The only other thing I wanted to mention was hydration and making sure you're getting plenty of water and electrolytes. Much like carbohydrates are stored in our body in the form of glycogen, we also store water in our body. So making sure that we're well hydrated means that we'll perform efficiently. I personally drink 3 to 4 litres of water every single day, even more if it's hot out, which it has been in Scotland recently, and I add an electrolyte tablet to my morning glass of water as well. We all need different amounts of water, so the amount amount that you need is completely personal. Just figure out what works for you and that you're staying hydrated. Thanks for sticking around to the end of the video. I hope you found it enjoyable. If you have any questions, please make sure to drop them in the comments box down below. Have a great day and keep running.
Corre pra ver a cor do mar. O sol já